It's not a nice day at all today. It's very windy, and the problem with wind is it dries your plants out as well, and that can lead to another problem, especially when it comes to your tomatoes and your peppers. But I want to pick a couple of tomatoes today, check these peppers, and then I'll talk about something that can be a big problem at this time of year and how to solve it. As you can see, the wind is really drying these plants out, but at the bottom we have got a couple of tomatoes, so I'm going to take those off because they're about ready and they look okay. I'm also checking these pepper plants as well. Once again, they're drying out. These are starting to colour up now, and that is a good sized pepper, and on the bottom it looks perfectly fine, so we're okay, but we'd best get them watered because these plants don't like inconsistent watering. We've got a nice bunch on here as well. They also look okay, except for this one. If we just take a look at this pepper, you can see that there's something wrong with it, and it looks like the start of blossom end rot. So we managed to get a couple of nice tomatoes. I did notice, however, when I got back in, one of them is split, and they usually split when they get too much water, which is quite ironic since we've had quite a lot of dry days, but at least the other one is perfectly fine. I also got a nice bunch of French beans as well, but it's that's the problem. One of his pepper plants is starting to suffer from blossom end rot, and it's every gardener's nightmare, but there are a couple of things that you can do to fix that. So it can be a very stressful time if you see any of that on your plants, but there is ways that you can sort it out. And I've noticed over years that plum tomatoes are more susceptible to blossom end rot than other varieties. I'm not sure if you've noticed the same. So basically, blossom end rot is a calcium deficiency. So that plant needs topping up with calcium. There is something else, however, that can also cause that to start, and that's inconsistent watering. If your plant's not consistently watered, then it will struggle to take up the calcium, even if there is some available. So it's a good idea to keep that pattern going if you've got one set in place with your watering. And as I said earlier when we was outside, don't forget that the wind will dry your plants out as well, so you need to keep on top of that, especially if you're growing in containers, because as we know, they lose nutrients and water quicker than anything else. I know a lot of people in the past have said that you can resolve that problem by using crushed or powdered down eggshells. Unfortunately, eggshells don't release the calcium quick enough to help that plant out, especially if it's already got blossom end rot. So we need to do something that's a quicker fix. And one thing that you can do is use powdered milk and just sprinkle it around the base of any of your plants that are suffering with that problem. That will get calcium to them quicker than eggshells will. But if you do that, make sure that you water it in after. It needs to go down to the roots of your plant so it can get absorbed. But you can also use fresh milk as well if you want to, but don't use full fat, get semi-skinned, and you need to dilute that milk as well to a ratio of 1 to 2. So 1 part milk, 2 parts water, and then again just water your plants with it and it will give it a calcium fix. You can also get products that you can buy that will boost the calcium, and I use one in particular, and you can get it off eBay. I'll show you what it is. So this is what I use. It's called CalMag, and it's basically a calcium and magnesium fix, and this works brilliant. We was growing Roma plum tomatoes a couple of years ago, and all the plants were suffering from blossom end rot, but I gave them just a bit of this, and that stopped it dead in its tracks. So this was a really good thing for me to find, and I believe somebody online actually told me about that. It might have been D. So again, if you're still on this channel, D, thank you very much for mentioning this stuff. It really is good stuff. And as I said, you can get this off eBay and it's not even expensive. It's not a bad sized bottle, and I think I paid about £9 or something like that for this bottle. But that was 2 years ago, and every time I get any problems with tomato plants, or even if I don't and I want to boost up that calcium to prevent it happening in the first place, then I can just give them a little bit of this. And I've been doing it for a couple of years and there's still half a bottle of that left. So really good fix and very good value for money as well. But I don't have a link to this before anybody asks me. Just go on eBay and type in CalMag, and then you'll get a list of different options to pick from when you find it, and you want the one that's the calcium and magnesium fix. You can also get blossom end rot on aubergines as well. It's not just isolated to one plant, but it's not exactly a disease, so it's not something that's going to spread. But what you need to do is obviously take those plants off because they're rotting, they're no good to eat, so just put them straight in bin. So it's a pretty straightforward process. If that happens to you, remove any of those tomatoes that have been affected, and then you can water it with the diluted powdered milk or regular milk, or buy some of that stuff, which I do recommend. It's really good stuff. But also you can mulch around your tomato plants as well, because it is a problem that's started by inconsistent watering. So like in this area, we get hot days quite often, everything's drying out. They're in containers, so they dry out even quicker, but then we'll get 4 or 5 days of rain or something like that, which is inconsistent watering. So for me personally, I would give your plants a bit of water every day. Don't drown them, but just make sure that water is present for when they need it, and that will also help prevent that blossom end rot problem. You could also use shredded newspaper or wood chips. It's just a few ideas to put out there that'll help you out. And you've now got quite a few different options. The consistency in watering will prevent that starting, but the fixes that we've just gone over will definitely get rid of it. And all the rest of the tomatoes on that same plant won't be affected, so you'll still get an harvest. And just before I go, do bear in mind that just because this is not something that spreads from plant to plant doesn't mean that your other plants might be suffering with the same problem. Also, just because that this is not a disease that spreads from plant to plant doesn't mean you shouldn't do what I do. Go out and check every single tomato and every pepper, because that way at least you'll be able to stop it before it gets any worse. Because once it starts a new plant, it will go to every single pepper on that plant. So definitely something worth doing. And also thank you so much for the donation that I received to this channel. I'll pop your name on screen at the end of this video. So thank you very much for your generosity, massively appreciated. So maybe I'll order myself another bottle of this CalMag. It's always good to have some ready. Anyway, thank you so much for being on board channel, I really do appreciate it. And if you're interested in seeing what we do as we go through August, then please hit that subscribe button, press that notifications bell, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.